Oliver the Liability Grayson. Being born half Viltrumite and half Thraxan while raised on Earth, there are certainly more aspects of Oliver's character to analyze than some would give him credit for. Now, while he's not a fan favorite character per se, he's still a controversial one that many fans have strong opinions on, whether that be positive or negative. And recently, I've been seeing a lot of slander for him, like the Liable One, or just simply Oliver the Liability Grayson. But is he truly a burden to Mark and everyone around him, or is that slander being blown out of proportion? Well, in today's video, I'll be going over just that. This video will contain spoilers for the events after Season 4 of Invincible, so if you do not want to be spoiled, I would recommend reading the rest of the series and coming back to this video. If you guys are new to the channel, what's going on? My name is Vertics, and if you enjoy videos like this, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. I put out quality content weekly that, trust me, you won't want to miss. After being taken to Earth as a baby and growing up at a rapid pace due to his Thraxan DNA, it wouldn't take long before Oliver started to get his foot in on the battlefield. At first, it's simple stuff, just learning to control his strength and fight guys that Mark himself learned to fight against. Nothing big, until the Mauler twins began to make another move. As after they beat the Immortal and the new Guardians of the Globe, Oliver flew over to help Mark with the situation, and as Mark takes to the sky to stop the missile they launched, Oliver finds himself face to face with the Mauler twins, and ends up not just beating them, but killing them both. Now, me personally, I don't think he's wrong for killing them, but I do feel the exact same way as Mark does. And that's, Oliver is wrong because he doesn't get the gravity of the situation. It's not that he killed bad people that's wrong, because the Mauler twins 100% deserved what happened to them, but it's the fact he doesn't care he took a life. He has no care for human life and outright says it. If he were to have done it and felt sympathetic, or at least try to find another way around it, it would have been different because it would have showed that he cared for life and understood you can't just recklessly end one. But at a very young age, while growing up faster than most, not only does he not care, but his explanations are just, well, outside of Debbie, I mean, I don't give a fuck. Like, Paul makes some good spaghetti, but fuck the rest. I'm not a human anyway, so why do I care? Like, I get he's a kid and all. He's gonna do wrong things, but he only seems to care about a life when it's a benefit to him. And just like most kids, you're not meeting many people at a young age, but they still care about life. And Oliver just doesn't, because those lives aren't close to him and he isn't a human. Now, I wouldn't say he's a liability at this point though, more of a loose cannon, and if anything, killing the Mauler twins while saving the Guardians is a big positive for humanity despite Oliver not caring for it. He definitely does grow from this point on, not fully recovers from it, but still matures as a growing child does, and even gives us the viewers some more screen time with Debbie, especially in the show, who is pretty much just absent in the comics, which is something I definitely appreciate. Something you only see in the show as well is Oliver checking Nolan for his act. Now, Nolan's redemption is a topic for a completely different video I can do next, but I never liked how he just acted as if he deserved a second chance, and Undresso was a mistake that never meant anything, and the fact Oliver checked him about this in the show is amazing and makes a lot of sense. Like, they had no actual bonding time before this. Nolan didn't even want to talk to Oliver, yet in the comics, Oliver just completely looked past it, but in the show, it feels so much more real and grounded. If anything, up until this point, he's been far more helpful than a liability. But does this trend continue though? Well, the next instance to bring up is both battles against Conquest, where in the first one, he did get fucked up. Yeah, we all saw him nearly get ripped in half, alright? But in a way, he did give Mark a rage boost and time to breathe, things that he desperately needed at that time. I get why you can call him a liability here, but you can also argue it against it, like Mark was seriously trying to talk things out with Conquest of all people, hitting him with the, wait, yo, let me tell you something, bro. Like, yeah, no, Mark needed that rage boost badly, and shit, it wasn't even his only one in the fight. I definitely do think Oliver actually aided Mark here, if anything. As for the second time against Conquest when Mark sees him alive and in space, well, while Oliver didn't do much here, something that a lot of people look past is that he genuinely put Mark in a position to win. If Oliver didn't go down to the planet to catch his breath and get chased by Conquest, Mark wouldn't have gotten his hands around Conquest's throat. In fact, before this, all of those blows Mark were landing onto Conquest was doing nothing. And don't just take my word for it, Robert Kirkman, the author himself, stated while storyboarding this fight that Conquest was barely injured, and that's all of Mark's blood on him. If not for Oliver, Mark probably would have lost against Conquest here, yet nobody ever brings that up. Instead, they love to focus on him charging at Oliver Destroyer 3000, aka Thragg, after being told strictly not to, and ends up becoming a floating carcass around the battlefield that Mark and Nolan have to worry about. Now, I'm not gonna lie, there's no defending this one. He was just really fucking stupid for this, but hey. He fought Conquest, or at least he thinks he does. I guess his memory, that Thraxan memory, is still a bit foggy in there, but it still doesn't make him a liability at this point, just a kid who makes mistakes, as all are. Now, up until this point, Oliver was fine and really only had two negative instances to point out, one of which had some pros to it and was understandable. It was a lot more of a mindset problem, and unfortunately, this still goes on, as after recovering from near death and hanging out with Nolan and Debbie for a bit on Telescria, the next time we see Oliver is when Alan starts to go along with his plan to release the upgraded version of the Scourge virus over Earth, where after consulting Nolan about it and getting into a battle with him that saw Alan beat the shit out of Nolan, Oliver would find them and try to help his dad, until Alan explains his plan to them, and Oliver completely turns his back on Nolan. Mind you that in the comics, it's worse than whatever the show does next season, as Oliver didn't care for Nolan dissing his real mom in the comics and immediately bonded with him while Mark was healing. He literally goes from, oh yeah, I love you dad, you're the best, to, fuck you dad, Alan's kinda right, eat my dick. In the show, it's already setting the scene up much better, but the fact he just turns on his dad and humanity that easily is still a liable act that he doesn't do much to make up for, in my opinion. Even when they get to Earth and fight against Mark to enact their plan, Alan made a whole fucking truce with Thragg and Mark in front of Oliver. Yet this little shit still grabs the gun and flies down to Earth to spread the virus before Mark swooped in and prevented him at the cost of getting himself infected. This dude Oliver was completely fine with wiping out all of humanity, which is something that he still doesn't care for, and almost directly killed Mark. If not for the Viltrumites having doctors to treat the infection, the series would have been over because of Oliver, and shit, he's also responsible for Mark's next close death encounter by the hands of Thragg. If not for the goat dinosaurs being there and the Viltrumites having doctors to treat Mark, he would have died all because of Oliver. Even after this, Mark has to deal with losing his powers for a short time because of it, and because he didn't have his powers, Dinosaurus took things too far, and shit, Mark almost died again. And because Mark convinced Dinosaurus he was wrong, Dinosaurus realized he had to die. So, because of this instance by Oliver, not only is Nolan in space prison, but Mark almost died on two different occasions, lost his powers, which resulted in him finding Dinosaurus, which almost got him killed again, and had to kill Dinosaurus in the end. By the way, because Mark didn't have his powers, Dinosaurus killed thousands of people all over the world, and Oliver is indirectly responsible for all of this happening. Literally started this chain reaction. And as a Dinosaurus fan, I just gotta say, fuck you, Oliver. Like, he and Mark had a great thing going on before Oliver's ass came back to Earth. It's just, like, really annoying to me personally, since he did mess up a very cool dynamic as well as everything else his actions resulted in. But believe it or not, there was some good that came out of it. The cause and effect for Oliver's actions goes both ways here, as because Mark's body was having tests ran, it was discovered that both he and Nolan were heirs of Argol. and this is why Thragg tried to kill Mark and even attempts to do so with Nolan the next time he sees him. Now, because Thragg found this out and was in such a rush to kill Nolan, he didn't notice the Viltrumites who followed him and heard that Nolan was in air all along. And afterwards, they proceeded to beat the living shit out of Thragg and then bowed down to Nolan, who is now their new emperor. While Oliver poisoning Mark may have led to all that stuff with Dinosaurus, it also led to Nolan and later on Mark becoming emperor while saving the Viltrumites from themselves in the process. In a way, the Viltrum Empire became what it did due to Oliver infecting Mark with the Scourge virus, which is definitely a net positive for the entire universe. Now, after his antics with the Scourge virus, we wouldn't see Oliver again until he becomes an adult, and after Mark traveled 5 years into the future, where Oliver is now a cool uncle to Terra and working for the Coalition, during this time, Oliver had one last act we need to discuss, being his terrible plan to act as a double spy against Thragg, who figured it out from the start. And after begging Alan to let him go along with his plan and Alan stupidly letting him, Oliver would tell Thragg Mark and his family were off on a remote planet removed from the equation. And while Oliver didn't give Thragg Mark's exact location, it was still enough of a hint for Thragg to find him and his family and almost get them killed in the process. And after realizing how much he fucked up, Oliver would attempt to save Mark's family, only for him to get killed in the process right in front of Terra. I can't tell you how much I despise this plan Oliver had. Like, it was never going to work. What would you have even gained? You're only giving Thragg leverage to use here. Like, even if you find where Thragg is, what are you gonna do? You guys tried sending your best fighter 5 years ago and cheese Thragg at the start of with the Ragnar and still couldn't take him down even after a 4-day long fight. Like, I just don't get what Oliver could have even accomplished here. Like, all you did was get your brother's family nearly killed and yourself literally killed. In all sense of the word, he was a liability at this point that had a massive cause and effect on the universe and never really redeemed himself for it. Like, yeah, he does die, but he doesn't really save Mark's family, and he never even felt any sort of compassion or regret for almost wiping out humanity. Like, he just never got that part down. I imagine that this will be a lot different in the show since they already are handling Oliver much better than they did in the comics, but after the first battle with Thragg is when he truly becomes a liability. Before that, he definitely wasn't one and just had some things to learn, some which he never ended up doing, but still wasn't causing the problems he did later on. It's weird because even though he's more likable later on, his actions are actually worse and hard to defend since he's not a kid anymore and has been told life is valuable plenty of times, but just could never wrap his head around humanity and Mark's ways of doing things. So, is he a liability? At the start, no, but after joining the Coalition and living on Telescria, he most definitely becomes the liable one. Well, that's it for you guys. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. It helps with the algorithm and is very appreciated. Shout out to Tiberius for the thumbnail. Make sure to hit him up on Twitter, link in the description, as well as following my Twitter at Vertics_ for more of my takes. And without further ado, you guys can get out of here.